South Texas, the home of the vaquero, the glorification of cattle ranching, and countless Texas tales. Now, have any of y'all ever made the drive from Austin, Texas, down to the Rio Grande Valley, the southern tip of Texas? Well, I have as well. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley, and let me tell you what that drive is like. It's around 5 hours long, 4 hours of which is spent driving 80 miles an hour through brush, empty land, and no cell service. It's probably why a lot of people refer to it as the middle of nowhere. But I'm here to tell you that it may not have to be that way. There may be opportunity in the middle of nowhere. This is a West Texas desert. Common to this area, hard soil, empty mesquites, and a drill. About the only plant you'll see out here is a mesquite tree, probably. A lot of farmers say that this land is very difficult to grow, and they'll call it commercially unusable. And for good reason. It's tough to grow plants out here. It's hot, there's very little water, and the soil is very nitrogen depleted. If we could find plants that grew naturally out here and find value in those plants, well, that would be something useful. We don't really have that right now. Now, are any of y'all familiar with this tree? This is a mesquite tree. I'm sure some of the Texans in the room have passed one of these trees, at least maybe unknowingly, hundreds, thousands of times. And the Texans in this room, I'm sure, are familiar with mesquite-flavored barbecue, if anything else, or mesquite-flavored potato chips even. And that's because mesquite, when burned, it burns very slowly. And when it burns, it releases this rich, flavorful smoke that when fused with meat is incredible. However, aside from burning wood, it isn't used for much else. And that's a shame, because it grows naturally in these places I just mentioned, South Texas, West Texas, right? When there's not much else, you'll find mesquite trees. But at the moment, they aren't really used for much, right? And it's because mesquite trees grow in this very disorganized tangle, and they have these thick, hard, very sharp thorns. And it makes it very difficult to use for any kind of building and things like that because they're too short and a variety of other reasons. And so they're basically only used for firewood at the moment. Now, there's this joke amongst ranchers. And it's a corny joke, but hear me out. I think it conveys a good message. Right? It goes, one rancher asks another one, hey, you know where I can find a tall and straight mesquite tree? And the other rancher responds, there's one over in that pasture of 4-leaf clovers, across the bend where the Bigfoot's fighting off the chupacabra. Like I said, it was corny, but the point is that the tall and straight mesquite tree is a myth. It's about as real as Bigfoot, or the chupacabra, right, for that matter. But it didn't always used to be that way. I spoke to a man who I hope one day goes down as the king of mesquite trees. His name is Dr. Peter Felker. He's a scientist, an agricultural researcher, and a brilliant man. And this man told me, Dr. Peter Felker told me that back in the day, there did used to be tall and straight trees, centuries ago. But when the Texas settlers came, what do you think was the first tree they decided to cut down? Well, it was the tall and straight. You know, it was the easiest tree to use for their building material. It was the easiest tree to start building cabins, wagons, fence posts. They used it so much, it got the name Texas iron. But over years, or centuries even, we ended up driving the tall and straight gene into near extinction. So we thought, what if we could find it? Well, not we, Mr. Felker did at least. So he puts on this competition. In 1998, Dr. Peter Felker, along with Texas A&M Kingsville, decides to try to find the tall and straight. And this was it. This is what he did. Put on a competition. And the theory was this. Anybody, all Texans far and wide, go to your backyard, your front yard, the local ranch, anywhere. And if you can find a tall and straight, take a picture of it and send that picture in. And the person that sends in the picture of the tallest and the straightest mesquite tree wins the large sum of $100. As you can imagine, they didn't get much. They didn't find the tall and straight. And the reason Dr. Peter Felker wanted to do this, and he wanted to find one, was because he believed, and rightly so, that the tall and straight feature was controlled by genetics. Much like human hair or the human eye, if you could find the seeds of the tall and straight tree, if you found one, you can get those seeds, you could replicate it, you could bring it back. However, like I said, they did the competition and they didn't find it. Now, have any of y'all ever seen this tree before? This is an aqua tree. And this is an aqua berry. Now, I'm pretty sure none of y'all have actually heard of this tree. It's a very rare tree, native only to South Texas. And to the South Texans in the room or watching, the only real memory you probably have of this tree is that really annoying tree that leaves thousands of these berries in my driveway or my front yard or my street. They're so annoying. It's such a nuisance. People pay other individuals to clear their driveways, to clear the streets, right? They use leaf blowers. They're about as useful as leaves, right? And that's because the berry doesn't really have much value, no commercial value, that is, and for good reason as well. You know, it's a small berry. It's got a large pit. It's highly perishable. No one's ever heard of it, so it has very low name brand recognition. You're not going to see one of these in your local grocer. You're not going to see jelly of this because no one's ever heard of it. And who's going to buy a jelly they never heard of from a berry they never heard of? And then if no one buys it, it's going to get old. And then who's going to buy an old jelly, something they've never heard of, right? So I thought, my brother and I, years ago, we had an idea. What's something that gets value with age? Well, alcohol. So we tried to do it. Years ago, we were kids, right? And for context of this story, this is my younger brother, right? Having my little brother go out and collect thousands of these berries. It was hot. I wasn't about to go do that myself. Come on, it's South Texas. So he goes out and he collects them. We put them into this big pot. We mash it up. I added this yeast from a home distilling kit that I had purchased online, normal kids stuff, and we distilled it. We sealed it up, and we let it ferment for about a month. And over time, after we let it sit for a while, we opened it up. And we opened it up to the sweetest smell you could imagine. Success. And in this case, success smelled a lot like off-brand wine. And the reason that was successful, and the reason I say that is because we had made value. We had made something of substance, something valuable to people, right? From something that was useless, a nuisance, a net negative to the community. We'd found opportunity, or at least some form, from nothing. Now, why is this important? Well, these two trees, the Yanaqua and the mesquite, are native to the semi-arid forest regions. And these areas are harsh, they're dry, they're hot, nitrogen depleted, like I mentioned. The common thing about these areas, too, is they're home to some of the poorest countries on this planet. We're talking countries like Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, Afghanistan, Iraq, some of the poorest regions in South America, some of the poorest regions even in North America, North Mexico, South Texas. And what's the common thing about some of these regions or many of these countries? Well, it's a lack of economic opportunity, and often. So, what if we could inject economic opportunity? What if we could provide value from something native to these lands? What if we could find opportunity where no one is looking in these areas, in their own backyards? Now, y'all remember that competition I brought up earlier, run by Dr. Peter Felker? I told you, I hope he goes down as the king of mesquites, and here's why. The competition, while I said it concluded nothing, was a little bit misleading. It didn't, fine. But it did inspire something, it did do something. It inspired in Dr. Peter Felker a passion, a drive to find this, to get this. And he was a scientist, like I said, so it wasn't just finding a tree, it was more than that. It was getting to the tree through natural or through other ways. So he goes all over the world, searching, doing what he can, doing research, trying to get the tree. He goes to India, he goes to Africa, the Middle East, South America. And in South America, he lands in Argentina. And here's the funny thing about Argentina. It's home to 27 of the 45 known mesquite species in this world. So while he's there for around 5 years, crossbreeding as much as he can, doing as much as he can. Eventually, he does it. he makes a tall and straight and cold hardy and thornless mesquite tree. He had unlocked the code, if you will. And now, why is this important, though? Why does this matter? Well, what you see starting in this nursery here might just change the world. And let me tell you why. This tree, like I said, is native to the semi-arid regions. And these regions, like I mentioned, are home to some of the most unfortunate situations on this earth. And this tree, like I mentioned before, is useless right now, right? It's disorganized, it's tangled, you can't use it for much else than burning wood. But what if you could find value in it in another way? When you have it tall and straight, you could probably find value in it the way the settlers originally did. You begin to build with it. And we do that now. There are timber yards that are entire industries all over this world, but not in the semi-arid regions. Now, there can be. We could literally create entire industries where there was none before. We could create a new cash crop, if anything, for some of these regions. And it doesn't end there, though. There's a funny additional thing about mesquite trees. Mesquite trees are also nitrogen-fixing trees. And what this means is it's able to capture the inert nitrogen from the air and deliver it as a fertilizer of sorts into the soil, providing a vital plant growth component that can allow additional things to happen. The soil can become more drought-resistant, and grass can grow. Not just any kind of grass. Tall grass can grow in between these trees. Now, what this allows is the potential fostering of additional cottage industries on top of timber. We're talking things like cattle. You might even see a goat farm on one of these mesquite timber farms. Maybe with this advent, that drive from Austin, Texas down to the Rio Grande Valley might not be full of brush and empty land. Maybe I'll see thousands and thousands of acres of mesquite timber yards, fostering additional cattle and other things, right? For people that didn't have anything before. And we can send these raftings to foreign nations, places like Sudan, Somalia, they can cover their deserts in timber yards. Now, I know it sounds crazy, right? That a disorganized, tangled, shrubby tree can provide any kind of value, or a berry could change communities. But what I'm trying to drive home, the message I'm trying to deliver here is that if we begin to look at the plants in our own backyards through a different lens, we may just begin to redefine what it means for a plant to have no value. Maybe we will begin to see deserts converted into timber yards, or barren plots of land converted into wineries. And this isn't just an idea. There are thousands of these trees being grown right now, the mesquite trees at least. In fact, recently, LA County purchased 1,200 of these mesquite trees to make a dent in the drought issues that they're having. Now, if I had unlimited opportunity, I would go into all the opportunity, or if I had unlimited time, I'd go into all opportunities in Texas alone, but I don't. So I want to leave y'all with some words my father used to always tell me. Opportunity grows sometimes where nobody is looking. And in agriculture, it seems opportunity may be ripe as ever. Thank you.